We are live. Welcome, folks. It is Friday. It is another week 4 of the Trump presidency. I am here, staying hydrated, of course. Thank you for joining me. Let's see. So, what to say? First of all, happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate. Obviously, it's a made-up holiday, but still excuse to eat candy. You know. um, I am growing content, as you may guess. So I'm making videos every single day on YouTube, and I am doing this live stream every Friday. And I'm continuing to look for opportunities to do another live stream every week. I haven't gotten there yet, but that's my goal. So if you have ideas like a regular cadence that I could do, let me know. Otherwise, I'm kind of looking for opportunities to do it. Let's see. Starting on the business end of things, which is, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please just go hit subscribe. It's easy. We're almost to 60,000 people. So hit subscribe on there. We're growing. If you want to check out more of what I do, you can do that at where I mostly write, over at Substack, which is just a newsletter service. If you don't know about it, it's easy to subscribe to. Just go to substack.com or go to chriscillizza.substack.com and check it out. You can be a subscriber without paying anything. You can just get the stuff to your inbox. But there's also more content if you are a subscriber. If you do want to subscribe, it's $6 a month, $60 for the year. And it's great. All right, so let's get started. Let's see. Oh, and one other quick thing here. There's a super chat option on here if you do want to donate to me. Now, if you want to donate to me, it's very much appreciated because, again, I'm making this life as an independent news creator. And the way that I mostly make income is through YouTube and Substack. So if you want to support me, you can. There's a Buy Me Coffee link on my YouTube channel page. If you want to, in the description, if you want to hit that and donate, I'm always appreciative. Not necessary, but appreciated. If you do, for people who come to this chat regularly, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you know this already, but I'll say it again. If you do donate to me via the super chat, I'll bump your question up to the top. And I have one for you, and throw your responses in the comment section and I'll get to them. So I need a recommendation. I am looking for a non-canon Stephen King book that is still great to read. So not The Stand, I've already read that. Not The Shining, I've already read that. Not It, already read it. Not the big ones, but some of the lesser known ones. If you got one that you really like, put it in the comments section. All right, here we go. Sam's still a Cillizza fan. Sam, great handle. Hey, Chris, if you were a Democrat running for Senate in a plain state, what would your messaging be focused on, especially with the party brand so toxic? So yeah, Sam, I made a video earlier this week about how Democrats need to be competitive in the plain states. So Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska in 2026, or at least one of those states. And it can be done. It's not easy. I think you really have to look. The closest we saw someone come was Dan Osborne in 2024. He lost to Deb Fischer by 6 points. And he ran as an independent. He did not run as a Democrat. Now, Democrats did not field a candidate, so I think he was sort of the de facto Democratic nominee, sort of. But that might be the path. I've written and talked a lot about the Democratic brand problems, and they are very real, particularly in the middle of the country, like Iowa, Kansas, and Nebraska. So if I was advising someone, I would say run as an independent. Now, in order to make that work, you have to make sure there's no Democratic nominee, no serious Democratic nominee. But I think running as an independent is very potentially interesting. Running as a Democrat is going to be really hard. Look, there's a reason that Democrats have not elected someone to the Senate since 1932 in Kansas. The brand is just not in great shape. So I would recommend running as an independent. Look, Angus King is an independent who caucuses with Democrats. Bernie Sanders is an independent who caucuses with Democrats. There are models for it. Let's see. Ayush Ariel, you said Hegseth, RFK, Cash won't be confirmed, but they did, and Cash will be. And a couple of days ago, posted about Dems winning the Senate in 2026, which is very unlikely. Please refrain from clickbaiting. I did not say that Hegseth, RFK, or Cash Patel wouldn't be confirmed. No, I absolutely didn't. People asked me, who did I think would be the least likely to be confirmed? And I said, Hegseth, RFK, and Tulsi Gabbard. I stand by that. They got the fewest votes for confirmation out of all the people, but they were confirmed. I never, ever said they wouldn't be confirmed. As for my thing about Dems winning the Senate, the headline literally says, how can Democrats win the Senate in 4 hard steps? Because it's really, really hard. If you watch the video, I say in the video repeatedly, this probably won't happen. And in fact, one of the steps, which I said, no more Democrats senators can retire, the next day, Tina Smith retired from Minnesota and blew that all up. So, dude, if I was clickbaiting, I would post something every single day about either how great Donald Trump is or how terrible Donald Trump is. That's the way to get lots and lots of followers very, very quickly in the political space. And that is not what I do. Let's see. Human NC, I should point out Valentine's Day is probably the worst day of the year to be single in my experience. It does suck. I agree with that. And I'm someone who, I'm someone who has been married for 23 or 24 years. So I haven't, but I get it. It's a hard day. Eat some candy. That's what I do. Mr. Wolf, I was watching your video the other day, and it was interesting to see that Bill Clinton's favorability dropped from 66 to 48 after leaving offices while Bush's went up. Why do you think that happened? I didn't think it dropped that substantially. Look, so Bill Clinton, most presidents, after they leave office, most politicians after they leave office wind up being more popular. The longer they're away from office, the more popular they are, because I think it's just human nature. We kind of forget about the things we didn't like about them. I don't know about Clinton, but I will tell you with Bush in particular, I think he very much benefits from Donald Trump being the president of the United States. So if you remember back to the Bush years, George W. Bush was seen by many liberal Democrats as Satan. Terrible, awful person, dictator, all of those words, right? And then Donald Trump came along. And I think a lot of Democrats were like, wait, what? And now George W. Bush is the kindly old man who paints pretty good pictures and stays out of the limelight in Texas. So I think he very much has benefited from Donald Trump being the president of the United States, candidly. Explains that one. I don't know the Clinton one. I'll look into it. Paul Robinson, Paul, you don't run out of typewriter ribbons. Paul, thank you for the donation, my friend. And thank you, as always. Paul is a big financial supporter of mine, and it is very much appreciated because, again, like, I had this conversation this week with some legacy media type people who are looking at going independent. I said, look, the reality of the situation is, I think it is a viable option journalistically and financially, but you have to get people to give you money to support what you do, right? I said to them, it's not like we go to the bank and when the mortgage payment is due and say, well, I'm a journalist, so, and they're like, the bank's like, oh, don't worry about it. Or like when I pay for my kids' travel soccer program. The guy's like, oh, you're a journalist. You don't have to pay, right? Like, it's a job like any other job, and you need support. Like it's harder because you have to ask for it. I never had to ask anyone to support me financially for my journalism prior to 2 years ago. I've gotten a little bit better at it because it's just necessary, but it is challenging. And Paul, I just want to publicly thank you for someone who understands that if you want coverage like this, and I'm going to do a video probably over the weekend, but I'm going to do a video. We've got a lot of new subscribers, so I'm going to do a video kind of explaining who I am and what I'm going to do. But the short version that I try to give in every video, because I think it's really important, is I am calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. And I think that is a really, really important role to play in this modern media environment. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Julio J. Chris, on the news, Trump roasts CNN's Caitlin Collins during press conference, gets laughs from other reporters. Is the laughing part a big deal or a small deal? So, Julio, I'm going to go through that transcript later today, probably, and pull out lines that are worth looking at. But I do know what you're talking about. So Caitlin Collins, who's CNN's White House reporter and a host on CNN shows, started to ask Trump something. And he basically said, like, Excuse me, it's not your turn to speak yet. And I think there were some reporters and definitely some aides. I don't know if there were reporters, but there was some aides who laughed. Yeah, no, I mean, certainly if you're a reporter, that's bad form. Our job is to ask questions of the president, not on his time schedule. I think you can be respectful, and I don't think Caitlin was being disrespectful. So I think you can do it in a respectful way, but that's our job, right? So yeah, we're all in this together journalistically, and I think too many times we forget that. Um, Dan W. Totally agree with your assessment on Mitch McConnell's vote to not convict and started Trump's return. You mentioned he would have swayed 5 to 10 other members. Who do you think they would be? Are they still in the Senate? Yeah, so that's a really good question. Let me look at vote. I'm going to type this in. Vote to impeach. Not in that. There were 7 senators who did vote to impeach him. Trump in the Senate. And I just want to look at who didn't vote. Here it is. Okay, so here's who voted guilty. So guilty was the vote to impeach for Republicans. It was Richard Burr of North Carolina, who is no longer there. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who is there. Susan Collins of Maine, who is there. That's 3. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who is there. That's 4. Mitt Romney of Utah, who is no longer there. 5. Ben Sasse of Nebraska, who is no longer there. 6. And Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, who is no longer there. 7. So let me just go through. Here's a few people that I think if Mitch McConnell had voted to convict Donald Trump, or that Donald Trump was guilty, Roy Blunt from Missouri, I think, would have probably voted for a guilty verdict. He's not in the Senate anymore. Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia. Maybe Joni Ernst from Iowa. Maybe. Maybe James Langford from Oklahoma. McConnell, obviously. Rob Portman for sure from Ohio. Rubio, potentially. Tim Scott, potentially. Thune, potentially. Tom Tillis, potentially. Todd Young, potentially. So there's a fair number of them out there. And again, I think that would have been enough to have him be guilty and then potentially not run again. So, yeah. Let's see. Vladimir, do you think Andrew Cuomo will make a comeback? Yes, he's going to. I'd be stunned if Andrew Cuomo didn't run for governor of New York this year. And I think he's the favorite to win as governor of New York this year. Somebody in my Friday mailbag, which I do over at Substack, asked me about Cuomo in 2028 for president. I don't see that. I mean, who knows? As I always say, Donald Trump's in the White House, so who the hell knows? But I don't really see that. But I do think he's going to be mayor of New York, and that could lead to him running for governor of New York again. Yeah, for sure. Matthew White, would you ever consider being a war correspondent? No way, Matthew. I am not tough enough for that or brave enough. Those folks who do that are incredibly brave. They are risking their lives, literally. Like they're going into war zones without a gun, without anything to protect themselves, other than that they're a member of the media. I admire those people immensely. Robert New York, November 9th, 2011, Barack Obama signed the Cut Waste campaign, crickets from MSN, Orange Man Bad. So, Robert, I talked about this last night. I was on Leland Vitter's show on News Nation, and I talked about it, and I'm going to write about this, and I may make a video about it. I do think that there is some level of, Trump's people always say like Trump derangement syndrome, that people are driven crazy by Trump. I actually think there's some fairness in that, to be honest. Like I don't think it's true in the way that like they use it, which is like a catch-all for anyone who disagrees with him. But I do think there is an element of people who just like, no matter what, even if it's a good idea, they won't like it because it's Trump saying it, right? Like it must be evil. So I do think there is some of that, particularly when it comes to some of the stuff on government waste, on cracking down on illegal immigration. Those are things that past presidents, including past Democratic presidents, have said. Maxwell Feiner, what political commentators do you watch on YouTube? You know what, Maxwell? I struggle with that, and I love your recommendations. My issue is I'm not really into listening to people who I know what they're going to say, every single time, like on the right and on the left. I'm just not interested as much in that because it's just sort of predictable. I want interesting people. I love Justin Young, who runs the Politics Substack, and he posts on YouTube. He is like, I like him, but if you have other people who are unpredictable in a good way politically, I just don't really want to like listen every day or every week to Donald Trump bad or Donald Trump good. It's like, Dr. Banana, I already smashed the like button and the live stream hasn't even started yet. Great job, Dr. Banana. Well done, folks. Please hit that thumbs up. Let's see. Gosh, every once in a while, I just accidentally skip all the way down these things. FPSC Wintergreen 2.0. Chris, your thoughts on the White House limiting the speech of the Associated Press by denying their reporters, but not their photogs, Oval Office access because they won't use Newspeak, the Gulf of America. You know what? I'm super divided on this. On the one hand, I really do think I don't care if it's called the Gulf of America or not. I truly don't. I don't think it's a big deal. On the other hand, punishing news organizations because they won't do exactly what you want is not a recipe for success. And keeping them from getting access, which they should have because they are a conduit to the American people, is not a good look. So, like, I sort of get the Associated Press. They want to stand on principle and they want to leave it as the Gulf of Mexico. I get it. I don't know. I don't know totally how I feel about it. I'm not like, I think clearly you cannot, if you are a president, I don't think you can get in the habit of saying, no, you can't come here because you won't say things the way that we want you to. I don't love that. Jim Maxfield. Hey, Chris, I remember Nixon's Saturday Night Massacre. Was what happened yesterday at the Southern District of New York as big a deal for Trump? I don't think it was, because we're not talking about the attorney general, right? And we're not talking about impeaching the president of the United States, at least not yet. I think that Trump or the Trump DOJ wants to pardon or wants to drop the Eric Adams charges because Eric Adams is cozied up to Trump. I mean, that doesn't seem complicated to me. And if you are someone who has spent years prosecuting Eric Adams and believe him to be guilty and believe his attorneys to have tried to bribe you into letting him off, I don't think that you're going to stay in that gig. In fact, Hagen Scotton, who's the guy who is leading the investigation, is a guy I went to college with. He lived one floor below me in our freshman year dorm. He is an incredibly bright guy. He served 3 terms in tours in Iraq in special forces. He clerked for Brett Kavanaugh. He clerked for Chief Justice John Roberts. I mean, this guy has a resume that is absolutely impregnable. And he resigned today and basically said, you'll probably find some other fool to do this, but it's not going to be me. And look, knowing Hagen, that guy is a really, really, really principled guy. And, I just think I would take Hagen's side in that just because I know him. Danny Jones, in honor of today, what 2 presidents would make the cutest couple? Well, I've always thought Franklin Pierce is the best looking. Either James Buchanan or Franklin Pierce, I think, are the best looking presidents, or a young Chester Arthur before the mutton chops. He looked kind of like Alec Baldwin. Ann Sorensen. Question: how is the future of the NATO alliance in your view? I mean, more up in the air, Ann, than it has been in a really long time. Look, if you go listen to or watch J.D. Vance's speech to the Munich Security Conference today, it's clear that this is a different vision of America and the world than we have seen since post-World War II, which, again, you can be shocked by it, but you shouldn't be surprised by it because that is what they campaigned on. J.D. Vance is not a fan of funding Ukraine. He is not a fan of spending money on foreign places when we can spend it in America. So, and neither really is Donald Trump. So we'll see, we'll see. But I think it is more in danger, that alliance, than ever before. Paul Olson. Oh, Esh Daddy says 11/22/63 for the King book recommendation. I love that book. I've talked about my interest in the Kennedy assassination. I went to the the Sixth Floor Museum in Dallas. I love that book. It was incredible. So other ones, I've read that one, but thank you. Paul Olson, King is a volume of many really good short stories. I forget the book's title though. Well, Different Seasons is one. Night Shift is another. So there's a bunch. Let's see. Jonathan Evans says Talisman, great book with Peter Straub. Okay, I can check that out. I haven't read that one. Bill Reeve, reading your recommended foreign affairs article on American authoritarianism, a bit of a different take on how authoritarianism can manifest itself in America. Very scary. Yeah, Bill, I thought so. For people who don't know, go into Foreign Affairs magazine. There's a piece called "Competitive Authoritarianism," which is worth reading. It's two professors, one from Harvard, one from the University of Toronto. Basically, what they say is Donald Trump is not going to turn America into a dictatorship, but he is trying to turn it into a competitive authoritarian model, which is there will still be elections. The opposing party can win, but he will use the powers of the office that he holds to tilt the playing field. A very, very interesting argument, in my opinion. Sam, still a Cillizza fan. WWE is running SmackDown tonight in DC. If that was your wife's Valentine's Day present, how quickly would she file divorce papers? Very quickly, Sam. I know that they are in DC tonight. We have other plans that are not going to that. But thank you, Sam, as always, for your donation. Jim Maxfield. Jim, thank you so much for your kind donation and didn't even have a question attached to it. Thank you so much. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you for your donation. Hey, Chris, honest question. What do you think happened to Rogan? 2016, he was a Bernie Sanders Democrat. Now every chance he rips on the left and praises the right. Did COVID wreck his brain or what? So, Mike, not that Mike Witt. I think that the pandemic had a tremendous mental, obviously it had tremendous physical impact on the country, but I think it had a mental impact on the country too, which is we knew so little going in, and then the government was trying to figure it out, and then Trump was kind of at war with Fauci. And I think that it led a lot of people to question things that they hadn't questioned before in terms of authority. I mean, look, I will tell you just from my perspective, and this is not the government's fault. This is a Chris Cillizza problem. I was a giant advocate for vaccines. I'm a hypochondriac. I was very worried in the early days of this about my kids, myself, my mom, my wife. And I thought the vaccine was going to be a thing like the polio vaccine, where you get it and you don't get polio, and polio becomes eradicated. I did not realize that the vaccine was really just to help it not be as severe, not keep you from getting it, but help it not be as severe. And I felt disillusioned about that. And again, it was my own fault, but the vaccine came and then it was like, well, this isn't actually going to cure COVID-19. It's going to help us sort of deal with it and get to herd immunity. Again, my fault, but I do think my experience is far from unique. I think a lot of people went through that. Let's see. So I do think that's probably what changed Rogan, to answer your question. Paula Keyser. Paula, thank you for the donation. We need more Jasmine Crockett's, the representative from Texas. Well, the left definitely feels that way. And she is a rising star on the left. The problem is she represents Texas, and that is not a place. I think her district is fine, but if she wanted to run statewide, I think she'd lose badly. Stuart Arbery. Stuart, thank you for your donation. Stuart says, admit it, you haven't read all those books behind you. Happy Valentine's Day. I have not read all those books behind me, my friend. Not even close. And thank you for your donation. I very much appreciate it. Lil Robot, do you think Stephen A. Smith could win a bid for president? I mean, my tendency is to say no, but again, Donald Trump is president. So probably not, but definitely not. XPFC Wintergreen. Chris absolutely did not say that they would not be confirmed. Yeah, this is going back. Again, I never said that Pete Hegseth wouldn't be confirmed, or Tulsi Gabbard, or FK Jr., or Kash Patel. I said those are the most controversial nominees. Those are the people that are going to have the hardest time getting through. If someone wasn't going to get through, it would be one of them. But I never said they wouldn't get through. Let's see. Dr. Always First, how is it possible that a New York governor can fire the mayor of New York City? Is there another example of this power? The governor of Massachusetts can't fire the mayor of Boston, right? Yeah, no, it's very unique. It's crazy that it can happen. Kathy Hochul is not going to fire Eric Adams, but yes, she does technically have the power to do so. New York is a strange place politically, man. I mean, that is wild wild that that's a thing. When I found that out, which was relatively recently, I was like, surely that can't be true. And then I looked it up and it is true. RSS said, make typewriters great again. So this typewriter is my wife's grandfather's. It no longer works, but I love it back there. And I think it's like a nice piece. The other thing that you can see, if you can see this picture up here in my mirror, it hangs above my desk and it's an old timey drawing of Washington. So that's the other sort of big thing I have in there. The other thing I have over there is a signed Joe DiMaggio picture that my wife got me for a wedding, which is amazing. Let's see. Phil Reinhart, 2021 senator vote was to convict, not to impeach. Right. So Phil, that's right. So it was actually not even to convict. It was guilty or not guilty, that 2021 vote. W.20. This may be a hot take, but I hope that the Doge lieutenants, specifically the very young ones that most people are referring to, won't have their lives permanently marred by their association or work. I doubt they will. We have a very short memory in this country. RSS says News Nation is like Fox News, right? No, not at all. News Nation is trying to be right down the center, not left, not right, which I love about it. Chris Cuomo is on there. Elizabeth Vargas is on there. Chris Cuomo is on there. I mean, I think they have a really nice mix of people, and they've been great to me. And I don't get a strong sense that there's, that there is a lean. I think they're trying to be in the middle. H says, you never get tired of politics, even now. I don't. I love politics. I don't know. It's a passion. There are days when it's harder for sure to do stuff and write stuff. And, sure. But most days, I enjoy it. Yeah, I do. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, dear. I've skipped. I need to go up some more. Gosh, jeez. Sorry, I've somehow scrolled way too far down. Okay, I'm back. Spencer Lee. Hey, Chris, although it's not a pickup, I think Brian Kemp staying out of the Georgia Senate race is the fifth domino for Democrats. Ossoff could beat him, but tougher than a generic MAGA type for sure. Yes, you are exactly right, Spencer. So this is referring to the video I made earlier this week about what would need to fall for Democrats to hold the House, the Senate, win the Senate rather. Yes. If Brian Kemp does not run, I still think Ossoff could lose, but he wouldn't be an underdog. If Kemp runs, I think Ossoff is an underdog. It doesn't mean he can't win, but I think it will be harder to win. Tabby D. Hi, Chris. I heard Rick Grinnell wants to run against Kamala for California governor. Does he stand a chance against her? So, yeah, I saw that Grinnell, who is like he's kind of a roving ambassador he was ambassador to Germany, I think, during Trump's first term. And he's kind of a roving ambassador now. I saw him say in a press conference or a press availability that if Kamala runs for governor, he would. No Republican is going to be, I think, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, no typical Republican with ties to Donald Trump is going to be elected governor of California. No. Sean McKenzie, Oberman belongs in a padded room. That is a take. Dan W. Is the public opinion turning on Musk? Conservatives don't like electric vehicles and liberals hate Musk, and he is not doing this out of the kindness of his heart. Thank you, Dan, for your donation and good question. So Elon is not super popular. That is not new. He's less popular than Trump for sure. I think that's the more he's in public, I think the more unpopular he gets. And that actually, Dan, may be a reason why Elon is not going to be long for Trump's orbit. Trump doesn't want anyone around him who's not popular and who's like bringing him down other than himself. And so, look, I've been very public about my belief that the Elon-Trump relationship or bromance or whatever you want to call it is not going to last for the foreseeable future. Like it's a short-term thing. But so he is not super powerful. Not super popular. Lil Robot. So this may be why someone said this about Keith Olbermann badmouthed you again over saying Scott Jennings should have a show. Olbermann said there was already a Scott Jennings show. It's called the Abby Phillips Show. That's kind of funny. Keith is funny. I do think they should give Scott Jennings a show because cable television is about ratings. It's about ratings that make money so that they can do a lot of other stuff journalistically. And in prime time, it's all about opinion anyway. So yeah, Scott Jennings is good TV. And yes, by the way, I like Scott Jennings personally. He's not a close friend, but I know him from cable. And yeah, he's good TV. He says things that get people riled up for and against him, and that's ratings. I mean, it's just a reality of cable news. I didn't say Scott Jennings should be elected president of the United States, and Keith is Keith, right? I mean, Keith does Keith things. That's what he does. Matthew McEwen. Matthew, thank you for the donation. Matthew says, thank you for all the great work. Could congressional censure be an effective tool against the 47 administration? West Wing fan, obviously. I don't think so. You think that congressional censure is going to bother Donald Trump or the people in the administration? I do not think so. You snooze, you news. Lucrative media bubbles gave rise to partisan derangement syndrome on both sides. I totally agree. One thing that I wish, especially on the left, I wish they realized that a lot of the anti-Trump stuff that's pushed out there every single day to them is more of a financial calculation by the people doing it than it is a deeply held belief by the people doing it. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone who's anti-Trump and monetizes it doesn't believe it. I think many of them do, but I think there are plenty of people who saw that there was a lot of money in that direction and they sprinted in that direction. And all they have to do every day is make content that says Donald Trump is the worst and everything he's doing is a mountain and it's 11 out of 10 on the Richter scale. And we need, and yes, you are right. Let's see. DSlav 2488. Also, that initiative includes inspectors generals whose job it was to provide oversight. Yes, you are right. There is getting rid of inspectors generals, in my opinion, is a very, very bad idea. Mike, for any president. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you again for another donation. Don't know if he's even interested, but I love Raphael Warnock in 2028. Guy reminds me so much of early Obama. Maybe Whitner is VP. Yes, Mike, that's my dark horse. I think Warnock is really talented and really able and would be a very smart person for Democrats to put forward, because I think he talks in ways about issues that isn't reflexively liberal, but I think could appeal to liberals, but could also appeal to other people. Eric Mays. Eric, thank you for the donation. Eric said, I was late getting here today, so I'm catching up. Keep up the good work. No problem, Eric. Thank you. You're making it easier with your donation. Thank you very much. Let's see. Marcus Del Toro, I had the balls and strikes line under 5 minutes. I lost. Fair enough. Maxwell Finer, breaking points on YouTube is great for independent and not boringly predictable commentary. Is that Crystal Ball? I think it is. If so, I have watched that a few times. Let's see. New Snooze You News says breaking point seems independent to me. Okay, that's good. Let's see. They call me Blake. What do you think of Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt's job so far? I mean, it's a hard job. Being press secretary in the White House is hard anyway. Being a White House press secretary for Donald Trump, who talks to the media endlessly every day, is even harder. I think her job has an audience of one, which is go out there and be confrontational, like stick it to reporters, especially ones who are trying to get you to answer specific questions. I think Donald Trump likes that, and I think she's done that. It's a huge change. Look, 15, 20 years ago, even Republicans and Democrats, presidents had White House press secretaries who viewed that they had at least some responsibility to kind of the general public that was the media was a conduit to. So they kind of kept a foot in both camps. That's no longer the case. They're 100% partisans all the time. Sean McKenzie said JFK was the best looking. Interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Just scrolling. Oh, Sherry Zimmerman, Stephen King suggestion. Rose Matter is a work of speculative fiction, an ordinary person in an extraordinary position doing the best you can. I have heard Rose Matter is a really good one, so I will check it out. La Robot said, personally, I don't hate Scott Jennings, not for his CNN stuff. The Bush administration stuff seems shady as hell, but at CNN, he doesn't really inspire my anger. My dad hates that guy, though. Again, I think it depends on what do you think CNN should be. Like MSNBC is clearly in primetime, the left, and Fox News is clearly in primetime, sort of pro-Trump right. So what should CNN be? I think it could be a mix of both, right and left, but maybe that doesn't get people to watch. Maybe they just want my experience has been a lot of people just want Trump bad, Trump good. No, Trump says something's good, Trump says something's bad, Trump does some things good, Trump does some things bad. So maybe that isn't an option. Let's see. Sean McKenzie says California's reaction to COVID really changed Joe Rogan. Okay, I can buy that. Let's see. Dan Lenning's PR team. Hello, Dan, and thank you for your donation. Guesses on the first flashpoint of resistance. 2017 was Women's March. 2018 was March for Our Lives. 2020 Black Lives Matter. Do we need to wait for a bad police clip? I don't know the answer to that, Dan. I wonder. To me, Democrats have been a little bit listless since the election, and I've talked about this, but picking a fight about USAID is so dumb because, politically speaking, because the average American doesn't care about USAID. And if you inform them of what USAID does, which is give lots of aid to foreign countries to do what I would argue are very good things, people don't want us to spend money on other countries. So I think they have to be a little more strategic in terms of what they do. Again, for all of the people running around and saying, this is the constitutional crisis, he's cutting government workers. You know who thinks that there are a lot of useless government workers? The average American. Now, again, I know many people work for the government. I have admired almost all of them because they could make more money in the private sector and they choose not to. But the average person doesn't live in Washington, doesn't know these people, doesn't see their lived lives. And so I think it's smart politics, candidly. And I think Democrats fighting on that, I just think that's dumb. So I don't know the answer, but I would say right now, the fights that Democrats are choosing to pick are not smart, politically speaking. Daniel Ownbay, where does Tulsi Gabbard go next? How does a Democrat from Blue Hawaii go MAGA? She definitely can't go back to the Democrats. And realistically, how far can she go in the Republican Party? Well, I would say she might be able to go pretty far. I already hear people talking about her as J.D. Vance's VP if things go well at DNI for her. So, no, I don't think she's going to go back to the Democratic Party. I think she's kind of in for MAGA at this point. But she's in a senior cabinet role in the Trump administration. I think she will absolutely be someone who's in the mix for VP, maybe even president, but probably VP in 2028. And she's still young. Maybe she could run for president. So yes, she is sort of burned the bridges on the Democratic side, but I think she is very much in play on the Republican side. Paul Olson. Paul says you will need some carbon paper for the typewriter. Thank you. So now I've got money for ribbon and carbon paper from the two Pauls, Robinson and Olson. Thank you, my friend. That's incredibly kind of you and very much appreciated. Travis Lindsay, is there a truly centrist news channel? I thought it was News Nation, but it seems right-leaning, which may have been confirmed by those who left. I don't know. I mean, I think News Nation does a pretty good job. I think what's hard now is that everything has viewed through the either Trump bad or Trump good lens. I think for people who hate Trump, if you ever say Donald Trump did something and this is smart or good, you are immediately seen as like a right-wing shill, which I don't really think is the case. Like Chris Cuomo is not a right-wing shill. Leland Vittert is not a right-wing shill. Elizabeth Vargas not a right-wing shill. So like the people they have in their primetime lineup don't strike me. None of those people are Sean Hannity. So I just think it's hard because we're so polarized that there's a tendency to just kind of latch onto it. Paul Robinson says, Paul, thank you for your donation. He says you might also need some whiteout. I love how we're going back in time. I'm gonna get a printing press in the background and whirl it. Paul, thank you so much. It's your generosity and your support of independent journalism matters a ton, and I hope sets an example for sort of what someone like me needs to keep going. So thank you. Barry Riley. Barry, thank you for your donation. Do you think that the government overstepped during COVID? Probably. Yeah. Probably some of the restrictions. I think the truth is, and look, I am no epidemiologist. I was very much in the we need to trust what the government is saying. I was not someone who was like, we need to send the kids back to school and I wore a mask forever. Okay. So I say all those things. I think the answer is probably, because I think in truth, with the exception of our older and endangered, people with lung issues, older folks, very young folks, I think the truth was if you are a healthy person between 12 and 55 or 60, the truth is we probably just needed to get to herd immunity. Everyone sort of needed to get it. And yeah, they didn't feel good. And certainly the people got it very early on. And I know one of them and he's a friend. He almost died and he was a healthy 35-year-old. So there are absolutely those cases. But I think the truth of the matter is we kind of needed everyone to get it. So we had herd immunity so we could move forward. And then we should have protected the people on the ends. I think our policy wound up being sort of probably too much in terms of too much missed school, too many mask mandates, those sorts of things. Now, where I think I differ from a lot of people on this, who might say, yes, the government overreaches, I don't think it was malicious in any way. I think they were doing the best that they could with the circumstances that presented themselves. It was a highly changeable situation. We did not have all the information at any point. So I don't think that Anthony Fauci was part of some broad government conspiracy to keep us all in our homes, but probably. And you know what? I was right there cheerleading the masking and the staying at home. So I'm only in retrospect sort of thinking in those terms. But yeah, Charlie Gordon, I already missed the favorite Candies list. If not, can someone teach Chris how to use a tier list website? I definitely don't know what a tier list website is. Candies I really like. Baby Ruth, underrated. I know that's an old person's candy, but Baby Ruth. I really like sweet tarts, especially the big chewy ones. Yes, they kind of taste like chalk, but I like them. Can't go wrong with a chunky. Saw that the other day. Oversized chunky. Hershey bar with almonds. Delicious. Old school, but delicious. That's a few. Jeffrey Berry, Chris, don't you think we need more media like the Bulwark, Keith Olbermann, Lincoln Project, and the Midas Network that aren't afraid to throw punches? Not really. I mean, to me, the Bulwark is very different than Keith Olbermann. I think that's a hard, the Bulwark, the folks that I read at the Bulwark, Jim Swift and Jonathan Last, and they are not just like Donald Trump is the worst. They try to make yes, they are anti or never Trump, but they make nuanced arguments. Keith is just Keith, right? He's an entertainer. So I wouldn't put them all in that same thing. I don't know enough about the Lincoln Project and the Midas Network, to be honest, to offer a ton of criticism or praise. I think we need more people who are willing to say, I'm not prejudging everything based on who says it. Just because a Democrat says it doesn't make it good. Just because a Republican says it doesn't make it bad, and vice versa. I'm trying to say this is either smart policy or good politics, and it doesn't really matter what uniform the batter is wearing. Got another one in there. So I don't know that we need more of that. I mean, there is a lot of it because there's money to be made there. Right? That's the reason there's a lot of it. Don't fool yourself. The reason that there's a lot of content that's either very pro-Trump or very anti-Trump is because that's where people are willing to pay for. So no, I don't think that. But again, I don't put the Bulwark and Keith in the same category. Maybe you guys disagree, but hold on, let me see here. Vimel Menon. Thank you for your donation. Is Elon's impact overblown? Trump's the president. He can do what he wants, right? Cutting USAID, EPA, and CFPB seem like a good move. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little overblown, to be honest, the President Musk stuff. Donald Trump could get rid of him if he wanted to. If he was doing stuff that Donald Trump didn't want him to do, I don't think Donald Trump would let him do it. Remember, Donald Trump ran on the idea that we need to get the waste, fraud, and abuse out of the government system. We need to cut the federal bureaucracy. So it's not like Elon Musk came to him after the election was like, hey, let's do this. This was Trump's idea. Elon is the implementer. I know people hate Elon. That's fine. He's eminently hateable, I think. At the same time, he's sort of carrying out, I think, what Trump wants him to do, So let's see. Cole W. I opened a short on Tesla stock yesterday. Q1 earnings will be interesting. Fascinating. Ben Pearson suggests Stephen King's novel about someone trying to prevent the JFK assassination. That's 11/22/63. It is amazing. If you have not read it, you should. Tom Grobe or Grobe. A singular lower court judge giving an opinion should not be able to derail a lawful order by the president. What law says you can't bring your own staff home? Shameful. Yeah, that's a view. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, I think there is court shopping that's done by Democrats and Republicans, and I don't love it. Sam Schmidt. Hey, Chris, do you think personal character matters less for political elections now than it used to? Absolutely. It's not even close. It used to be a huge thing, and it no longer is. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to people who have not asked questions. Brett Green, Chris, are you surprised by Trump's popularity so far? A little, but not a lot. I think that people really knew what they were getting when they voted for him or what they wanted. And I think he's trying to deliver on that. A lot of people on the left hate it. I get that. But he said immigration. He's worked to crack down on immigration with limited results at this point, but he's doing it. He said the government, and we got to get rid of a bunch of the bureaucracy. Well, they're certainly doing a lot of that. He said he was going to get rid of people at DOJ. They're getting rid of people at DOJ. So it's like what he promised, whether you think a president should do what he promised to do or not, he's doing it. Right. And I think that's why people are liking him. By the way, we only have 91 likes in this, and we have over 200 people in here. So hit up the likes, people. Thumb it up. Okay, a couple more donations here. GP says you are filling an important niche, Chris. I'm trying. It's thank you for your donation, GP. And look, this is who I am. Like, I'm just not a guy who's ever seen things like consistently one way. Like, yes, Democrats are always doing the wrong thing, or yes, Republicans are always doing the right thing. It's just never been me. So I just got to be me. I know that might not be for everyone. I know some people want people to bang a drum and call Trump a fascist, America's Hitler, and say we're in a dictatorship. And I know people on the other side want me to bang a drum and say Donald Trump is great and the liberal media is terrible, and they silenced my voice when I work for them and blah, blah, blah. But that's just not true. Just got to do me. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you again. Golly. Mike says, I like Kyle Kulinski because he's one of the only people that aren't afraid to go right after Rogan and not suck up to him, unlike the young Turks who bend to the knee to Trump. Okay, I don't know him, but I'm happy to check him out. I'm always interested in more independent voices. They don't have to agree with me, but independent voices. DSlav2488 says, I'm just getting ready for 2028. Crockett versus Vance. Jasmine Crockett, I do not think is going to be the Democratic nominee, but yeah. Roberta Curie, hey, you do a great job. Just wondering how weird is it that we still don't know more about the Trump assassination attempt? So, Roberta, I assume you mean the one in Butler, PA. And yeah, I kind of agree a little bit. It has gone a little under the radar. Disembodied Screams, Doom a Key by King. Recommend that one. Thanks for all you do. Keeps me sane. I tried. So Doom a Key, I've not read. That is on my list along with Dolores Claiborne and The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon and Mr. Mercedes. Let's see. Golly, Stephen King writes a lot. I mean, he writes a lot. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading. C Cherry 18. I was listening to Michael Wolff audiobooks about Trump. It reminded me Trump was really brutal to his allies once they piss him off. Steve Bannon and and Jeff Sessions. Why is Elon volunteering for this? Because he likes being close to power. He likes having a direct impact on how the government works. Like, I think it's pretty intoxicating to be close to the president and to be able to have your ideas about efficiency be immediately implemented. Right? I mean, I think that's appealing to anyone. And remember, Elon Musk doesn't need money. He's interested in power and how power gets used. They call me Blake. Speaking of good-looking presidents, go look up a young Gerald Ford sometime. Hubba, hubba. Yes, agree. Gerald Ford was a stud. Let's see. La Robot, what do you think of the murmuring from some Democrats online that Al Franken can come back now that the political environment is better? Dave Trotter even floated Elliot Spitzer for president. Yeah, I could see Franken running for that open seat in Minnesota. I mean, I don't know if he'd win the primary, but I could see him being interested in it. And yes, when you look at why Al Franken was run out of the Senate, and to be clear, he was run out by Democrats, not by Republicans. When you look at how Al Franken was run out of the Senate and what for, it's not great behavior, although he did deny it, but it's not great behavior if he did it, but it's not even close to some of the stuff that we've dealt with since then. Okay. Sam Schmidt, I think middle of the road takes, like you're saying, work better for long form content rather than short algorithmically served content. Maybe I got to figure out how to do even longer form content. I mean, I'm making like 8 to 10 minute videos every day, but if you have suggestions, I'll take it. Ron Licciardi, Do you think if the press corps stopped covering Trump over the AP situation and made a priority to cover Musk more, it would piss Trump off and lead to Musk's ouster? Yeah, I mean, maybe, but the problem there is Donald Trump's the president. Like Elon Musk is not the president. Like I get the whole troll move and act like Elon Musk is the president, but Donald Trump is the one with the actual official constitutional authority to do some of the things he's doing. Elon Musk is just a guy. I mean, he's a very rich guy and a powerful guy, but he's just a guy. So you know, I don't think the media should or could do that. Let's see. Sorry, I am scrolling. Anthony DeGusty, what do you think of Trump's Russia-Ukraine war moves this week? Well, I mean, it seems pretty clear that Trump wants to end the war. He said that. He said he would do it on day one, which he didn't do. But it seems pretty clear to me that the way he thinks that's going to happen is for Ukraine to say, okay, you can have some of this area that used to belong to Ukraine. You can have some of it, and we'll end the war, and that'll be good for everyone. I don't know if that is going to happen or not, but that seems to me where he's headed. Dan Lenning's PR team. Dan, thank you for the donation. Dan says, Democrats will learn the wrong lessons for Virginia governor's race, ultimate beltway race, and the mainstream media will use it as a springboard to 2026. Think 2025 matters or a false signal. Democrats should win the Virginia governor's race. If Glenn Youngkin's the governor now, it tends to go, a Republican, it tends to go back and forth and back and forth. Virginia is a swing state, but a swing state that leans toward Democrats for sure. I wouldn't read too much into it. If Republicans win it, a little bit more interesting, right? I think that might tell us something about the lasting power of Trump and Trumpism. Jorge Caceres, thank you for your donation, Jorge. And Jorge says, thanks for doing this every Friday, Chris. No problem. I really like doing it. Let's see. Mauricio Zumba. Hi, Chris. First time posing a question. I wanted to get your opinion on Scott Jennings on CNN. I wonder if how much he says is for show. In most of the clips, it's like he's there to antagonize. I mean, look, I know Scott a little. I like Scott. I knew him when he worked with Mitch McConnell. It's television. So all of it is at least some level of performance. Like anyone who doesn't get that doesn't understand cable TV. It is some level of performance. You are trying to get people to watch. And the way that you get people to watch is you probably, in most cases, exaggerate a little bit in your positions. You take it to 12 rather than just 10, right? That's sort of how TV works. The people do you think Stephen A. Smith is like he is on TV when you just meet him every day? I don't think so. He's probably similar, but he's not as outsized, right? So Scott is the same way. Yeah. I mean, I think Scott is a conservative. I think Scott doesn't love the media, but I don't think that Scott is exactly what you see on TV. I mean, my experience with him, he's a lovely person. We talk about our kids. We don't really talk about politics. So, yeah. Mina Vamp says 224 people for a live view. Even a nobody YouTuber can get more views than that. Wow. Okay. Thanks for coming. Appreciate that view. Look, I'm doing my best. I'm building. If you have ideas on how to make this live stream bigger, better, I would love it. The more people who can watch this, I think, first of all, it helps me to keep being able to do this. So if you want to donate, if you want to subscribe, if you want to spread the word, that's how I can keep doing this. And second, the more people who listen to what I have to say, I think the better, because I'm trying to say neither side is right all the time. And I think we would be in a good shape for that. So rather than dunking on me, how about send me a note and say, hey, here's how you could do better or more. I'm always happy to. This is all new to me. I'm just kind of winging it. So if you have thoughts, cillizzac@gmail.com. Send it my way. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going through these. Sean McKenzie says, I'm just saying the Lewinsky scandal was the canary in the coal mine on personal issues. I do. Yeah, I think that, Sean, I do think that's probably right. Yeah. I think that was sort of when it started to change. Paul Olson, I'm from Minnesota and would love to have Franken back. He was a solid, good senator for us. look, I think that's going to be a crowded Democratic race because the Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan's already in. Walz might get in. Ilhan Omar might get in. Angie Craig might get in. Keith Ellison, the Attorney General in the state, might get in. Franken might get in. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be really crowded. Dylan G, what kind of chaos do you think will ensue when Kash Patel gets confirmed? I don't know. I mean, I know everyone's predicting that, and maybe that's the case. We'll see. I mean, my thing is with politics in this day and age, I am doing a day-to-day thing. I cover what I see that day and what I think it means. I try to stay away from too many hard and fast predictions about what the future will hold, because the future, as has been shown repeatedly over the last few years, is extremely unpredictable. Okay, let me see if I can find one or two more. Barry Riley says, I think you need to do a live stream after 5 p.m. So I'm retired, so I can watch anytime. Barry, that's a fair point. I will try to figure that out. It's harder with my schedule because I'm driving my kids to and from sports around that time, but it's a good idea. Ron Licciardi, great show, Chris. Love the balance. Thank you, my friend. Let's see. Bill Reeve, I just bought a Tesla and my wife bought a Tesla because it's a great EV, even though I'm a Democrat and despise Musk. My wife agrees. Now I see the left is calling for boycotts. Will this work? No, it will not work. Just like when you called for boycotts at Chick-fil-A. The Tesla is an amazing car. I have one. It's really fun to drive. I don't endorse or unendorse Donald Trump. Excuse me, Elon Musk. But, Mike Witt. Mike, thank you for another donation. Mike says, how about an old school wrestling match for more views? Did you know Trump once got stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin? Of course I knew that, Mike. And yes, maybe a wrestling match would be good. But yes, look, let me end on this because I got to go do a workout. I don't have all the answers in politics, in YouTube, on Substack, in journalism. I am trying to find the answers along with you all. This is a co-project that we are engaging in. You are watching and supporting me. I am doing my best to be honest and bring you answers as best as I know how, to explain things to you. The way that works, at least on YouTube, is more subscribers. The more subscribers I have, the better the algorithm treats my content. The better the algorithm treats my content, the more people see it. The more people see it, the more I can prosper financially and continue to make the videos. It's ideally a cycle that works like that. So I need your support. Whether you can donate to me, as so many of you have done here, or over at my Substack and become a subscriber there. If you can do that, awesome. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can click on that link in my YouTube channel description. If you can just become a subscriber here, which is free, or just become a subscriber and tell a few people about it. This is a journey I'm on. I'm not at the end. I'm closer to the beginning than the end, but I need your help. And I need your advice, your guidance, your critiques, your kudos. What can I do better? CILLIZZAC@gmail.com. That will come right to me. And if you have thoughts, I more than welcome them, and I will do my best to reply to them. So thank you. Help me grow. I need you guys. Don't stand on the side and be like, why isn't this bigger? Just help me grow. So check out my Substack, chriscillizza.substack.com. Subscribe here. If you want to make a donation, there's a buy me coffee link. All right, everybody, take care. I'm off to hit the gym. All right, take care.